all assets at some point become liabilities. But even though the agency is the asset, you may not be able to pivot that because that's your liability. Your burn rate is XYZ.
Yeah.
And I learned that from Grant, like repeatedly. Assets always become liabilities at some point. So your skill sets of media buying, your skill sets of XYZ, at some point it's going to cap out. It's going to be your liability. That's what keeps you at a certain spot.
Welcome back to the 4Media Uncut podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Robert J. Miller.
Whoa.
Oh, I threw in the J there.
Okay.
Differentiating him. You know, he's not any old Robert Miller. He's a Robert J. Miller. And he's actually Kendall's business partner from a couple episodes ago in automated retail commerce. But we wanted to have him on because he has a very different perspective and different side of the story.
I actually used to work with Grant Cardone. Pretty crazy story, which you're going to hear a lot more about inside the podcast. Kind of see what that experience was like and why he stopped working with them as well. And kind of cool to see the business model that they shifted to. From a business partner standpoint, Kendall's like super like trend finder, social media, ads, things like that, figuring out ways to get purchases and be on top of things. And then Robert's the operations. He's moving the pieces around. He's organizing the structure of the business and really making some big moves. You know, this is one of my favorite people in the space, just in general, a really good person. And I think he's going to share a lot that is going to really blow your mind. And most importantly, you're going to learn a lot from this. So that being said, enjoy the episode.
But yeah, Robert Miller, thanks for joining. And I said earlier, Robert J. Miller. You have to differentiate from all the other Robert Millers. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there, so you got to throw the J in.
Yeah, but Robert J. Miller, thanks for coming out. We had your business partner Kendall on the podcast like pretty recently, so hopefully people have listened to that one. But we always kind of kick the podcast off by you just kind of giving an intro of who you are, kind of what you do, and then we can go back in your story a bit.
Yeah, sure thing. So digital entrepreneur is probably the easiest way to encompass it all. Been in marketing, been in e-commerce, and been doing that for the past like 5-6 years. So now we have a portfolio of about 60 Shopify stores that we run, we manage, and we do that in marketplace selling on Facebook, man. So that's been what my partner and I have been focusing on. We used to have an agency, and now we just really build the stores for people and do the operations for them instead of having them have to come to us with the operation. We'll just go ahead and build it out from scratch and run it.
You're like, don't bring us your mess. We'll start fresh.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
You're like, we don't want you coming to us so that we can fix your problems. How about we just start from ground zero and
exactly. You get to build the right foundation, the right tech stacks, and then just the right organizational structure for the teams. It makes it a lot easier and simpler to operate for sure.
Look, digital entrepreneur though is it's like saying I do real life business. Like that'd be like you asking me what do you do, and I'm like I do business on land. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
it could mean anything. It could be like I sell accounting services online. You know, I sell Instagram stuff. I sell products. Like,
it's funny, like to try to categorize a job like that's so broad. You know,
bro. Try explaining it 6 years ago. Like, do you understand? Like when I would talk to my parents' friends, and they'd be like, "This is my son." I'm like, oh, what does he do? He does internet stuff. That's it. I'm a kid in my bedroom working from a laptop. You know what I mean? So like, it's 6 years ago.
They're
like you guys really
their friends are like, it's got to be
was.
illegal.
Yeah, it's got to be illegal.
It's got
Silk Road.
Or like he's not making anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why he lives in the parents' house.
That's why he's in the bedroom working. You know what I mean? But it's funny that like that's how it's categorized now, and it's normal. Yeah. Like I see people with nice ass cars that are young. I'm like, something on the internet.
Yeah, something. An NFT, some sort of marketing or some course or something like that.
Something. That's dope, man. Well, so just to give people a reference or background, you guys, basically people pay you a good chunk of money, then you end up becoming partners, right?
Yeah,
in the store, essentially.
We're technically service providers on the store, but
Yeah.
we handle all the operations. So we'll do, if it's a Shopify store, we'll do the marketing, the content creation, email, SMS marketing. Like we'll do everything A to Z. And then as they grow and they scale up, we'll continue to add more services because that's what the business needs. So whether it's packaging design and logistics, and then we kind of just continue to build through different thresholds we have. And then marketplace selling is a little bit different, but we do the operations day to day, product listing, and making sure all the customer service is good and kosher.
Sick. So I don't have to do anything if I give you money.
Exactly. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. And we used to be an agency. Like 3 to 4 years ago, I had started my own agency. It was more like a freelance gig, and I was just trying to knock down doors for contracts and stuff like that. And it was probably the most nerve-wracking thing. So I really stuck to that title of a digital entrepreneur, like only do things on the laptop because I was so introverted. But then as I started to learn Facebook ads and other marketing strategies online, what really was the kicker for me is as soon as crypto popped off, which we can go into in a little bit later, I had actually made a pretty good trade, totally by luck of the draw. And that kind of catapulted me to being able to buy a lot of the courses in marketing and then start to really build a portfolio, because then I became the crypto dude. So I then had ebooks, I had courses, I had funnels, I had all this stuff. And then I built a portfolio with my buddies. And then that's when I had worked with Grant Cardone and Frank Kern's agency. I used that portfolio to get in there, and then it just kind of catapulted from there.
Wait, what year was this?
This was all in 2017 was when crypto kind of really got hot. And then
You were making ebooks and shit back then on crypto?
So dude, I was totally like a graphic designer, a media buyer, like everything that didn't require sales, like I was doing just to try and figure out this whole digital thing. And
so like, what was your background before that? Like, what do you study? And like,
dude, before then I was just
what skills did you have?
An entrepreneur, man. Like I bought so many courses, was reading books. And when I went to college, I was originally going in for like business administration. I didn't really know what I wanted to do from like a traditional path. In fact, I remember when I made my transfer from community colleges to a university, I wanted to go study real estate. And I was like, I could have just gone and done real estate, just being a broker or work for a broker or whatever, right? And so I actually just continued to follow, Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone, all these guys that were just pushing out so much content. And I was like, all right, I'll do the same thing. And I had made a pretty good trade in crypto. It was like 166x on a return just from that one trade.
Wow.
And then from there, I started, just kind of going down that rabbit hole of giving free value. Like I wasn't even selling courses. I was just speaking on stages at different colleges and all this stuff up and down the West Coast. And that's kind of what catapulted me originally as being like this marketer guy, something in digital, like he figured something out.
Yeah.
And then
it's so funny how it works.
Yeah.
I don't know really what he does, but like I know he made some money somewhere on the internet.
Yeah, somewhere, somehow, something happened.
Dude, that was like my friend Andreas the other week. He like came into town, and I was like trying to explain it to my friends, and I was like, he's this guy. I think he's involved in like blockchain something. Like I'm like, I don't know exactly what he does, but he's like done well for himself.
Assuming.
Yeah, he's a digital nomad. He doesn't have a house. He doesn't have a home, and he just lives in dope
like
places.
Like he could be a digital nomad and have like
facts, but he
$500 in your bank.
We did hang out, and I actually did.
Yeah,
I figured it out at the end. So, but it was pretty funny because I was like trying to explain it to him, and I'm like, I don't even know what this guy does. He figured something out.
That's cool though. So you got authority from that, I guess. I mean, you had to publicize it in some way to get authority from it, right? So like, how'd you put yourself out there because you're introverted?
Yeah, so just kind of filling out applications to go speak at different things for college, and then one thing just led to another. Had it all recorded, and people had seen it. And then as soon as I graduated that junior college, Frank Kern and Grant Cardone were hiring for their agency. So I just took my entire portfolio of all these funnels that I've built, everything that I had done for kind of my personal brand and for some other people, and just threw it into their application. Was like, yo, I'll go ahead and run media for you guys. And it was a super simple process. I remember I tried using one of Grant Cardone's closes on the interview. I thought that was a good idea for some reason. Yeah. And he was like, one of Grant's favorite lines is like, let's just take time out of the equation and go ahead and start right now. And so I was just going through round one of the interview, and I just said that, and they're like, okay, hold on now. Let's go ahead and like look at your stuff. And then like 2 weeks later, I got the position, and it was like super highly competitive. So I don't know if it worked or not, but I was able to do everything remotely. I was able to do everything in LA, and I was running ads. I was doing media for like basically anything and everything under the sun, because their agency was so wide. So I was selling, lead gen for chiropractors and dentists. Then I did e-commerce. Then I did high ticket sales and entrepreneurship webinars, all that kind of stuff that was just all encompassing everything media. And so really kind of learned a lot from direct response side, learning from Frank Kern. He's a legend in the space. So I was really blessed to have that opportunity.
Let's talk about that opportunity.
Yeah, it was dope.
It sounds messy. Give me some inside scoops here, bro. It sounds like as a guy who runs an agency who have 120 something active clients across, that's a fucking mess, bro. Having like anything and everything under the sun. Like launching it's one thing, but like maintaining it's not. So like, tell me about your experience there and be honest about it.
Yeah.
And if you need something to get muted out, we can mute it out here, but
okay, cool.
I'd love to know some inside info.
Cool. So just to give you reference of growth of scale, In 90 days, I was first off employee like number 13 in their whole group.
Okay. Oh, so they had a decent foundation before. Was that from like Kern's side?
Yeah, it was from Kern's side. So they kind of like merged, and really Grant was just a distribution channel and a name.
Exactly.
Right?
Grant took equity in that and then brought people.
And so there's about 7 to 13 people. I was like number 13. Within 90 days, they were up to 65 people. They went from 0 to 800 grand per month in recurring revenue in 90 days. In 90 days.
Like from Grant posting on his story and shit.
Just from the amount of client flow that just came immediately in the door.
Exactly, yeah.
What was the fulfillment like on that?
Well, there's a couple things to that. There's a couple things
That's
to
what
that,
I'm saying. Like, it's just
So
Holy
not
shit.
doable in the
So pods, for sure. Every media buyer managed about 25 accounts plus. Like 25 was the minimum.
It makes sense if it's like a local business, right? But eCom, no way you can do that.
So they did not categorize it per niche. And that's, I think, what was really cool for me to learn all this stuff. But like, that was probably the detriment to the agency in general, was because they just had so many different clientele. And even just on the account manager side, they were managing between about 30 to 80 clients at one given point.
So they're learning the nuances of like so many different types of businesses that it's just like impossible. Not impossible, but it was really hard to probably keep up with everything, you know?
Yeah, damn near, man. And then like...
Because every little niche has their own weird quirks about why things are working and why they're not working and shit.
Yeah, there's that. And then there's also the like reporting, like data, right? Like we know that now because of iOS 14, 15, but all those business models need different data reporting. And I remember when we originally rolled out different softwares and stuff, we had to customly integrate, I think it was called TapClicks at the time, with all of the ad accounts having different reports for different industries and niches. So from like a top-down level, I'm not going to name him or anything, but there's basically one major guy that was kind of like the operations guy of the agency. Frank Kern was above him, and then his other right-hand man was his other guy. So this was guy everything in charge of marketing. This guy was everything in charge of operations. And everything just flowed up through those two guys, and it got to a point where they even needed support. Like there was so much inflow that they couldn't handle strategy anymore. They couldn't handle that. So they actually were pulling up media buyers that were just top performers into those like high-level positions, and that's how I went from managing 50 grand to 100 grand per month to like literally multiple $1 million just because they needed that inflow of just support of even technicals. Like,
bro, think about how much pull you have to just send a few email blasts and shit, and literally
it's insane.
$10 million business.
Dude, it was crazy. And
that's insane.
I think the biggest thing that I kind of learned from seeing just how they moved and how they operated, like that was extreme scale under the microscope of everyone, like a lot of pressure. And so I think they shifted and changed internally a lot operationally, which really caused a lot of confusion.
I'm sure you guys were pivoting every single week almost,
Dude,
probably, of like what to change and shit.
It was literally like every other day there's a new policy that had come out, and they would send an email and they would say, hey, sign this. And it was like, they were policies just because they were having so much inflow of just communication. It was like, it was like every email that is sent out or that is received by 3 p.m. must be responded by 4.
Whoa.
It get like super great because everything was just kind of moving back and back just because of the amount of growth that they had. But
yeah.
I will say,
were they saying to respond to clients or just in general? Yeah,
just respond to clients. And I will say though, there was a lot of great like marketing training, and like they were really, really strong at like really training individuals, and they really brought in like some top talent. And I remember the day that I got there, again, we were at 13, 90 days later, they're at like 65, and they had all this growth, they had all this scale. And my pod, or my group, I should say, because I don't even think they were organized in pods at the time, but my group and another guy's group were like the top 2 performing out of the group. And the workload was just so heavy because then new clients kept going into our pods. Like we were some of the guys that just had to fulfill and help other people with their workload as well as ours. And it got to a point, at least for me personally, dude, I was like so stressed, bro. I was working full time there, and I was full time in college at the time studying financial analysis. So
were you making pretty good money or not really?
I mean, dude, for
how much you were doing?
Yeah. I mean, I come from nothing. I mean, now thinking about it, like in retrospect, no, like I was managing 25 accounts plus, and I was managing multiple 7 figures in budget. Like,
yeah,
if I just have an agency that's literally 6 figures that I can manage on my own, you know? So
yeah,
in retrospect, no, but at the time I was making like $5,000 a month, And being able to do that online, work for Grant Cardone, because I'm a huge freaking fan of that dude. He helped me through a lot, especially growing up. I was like, dude, hell yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Like, I'll do whatever it takes. $5
a month's a lot, bro, for doing, like, for starting.
Yeah, for sure. And it literally just came from all the experience that I had prior. I only bought courses. Like, I didn't work at an agency prior. It was kind of just like this self-discovery, self-taught thing and going through courses, and then boom, landed in agencies. So that's why I think like investing into skills is super important. I went overboard with investing into courses. Like after that whole crypto trade, I dumped like 50 grand into online education, not even school, like just online education. So I learned about trading, learned about finance, learned about the basics of real estate. I don't know a bunch about it, but the basics of real estate, marketing, and then having that experience, like it made me a little dangerous to know different aspects. And then it kind of made me even look at some of the business models differently, because I wasn't just a media buyer. I had some awareness, I think, in different industries that helped me.
It's pretty wild that this type of thing is like so new to the world. You know what I mean? Like I feel like before it's like, what do you mean you went and bought a bunch of courses and now you can just get like a full-time job after learning all this stuff? And like, is honestly the advice you just gave, or not even the advice, but the story you just gave is actually kind of what George Yu was talking about, of like, learn as many skills as you can. Learn about the finance world, learn about money, learn about real estate, learn about crypto, like when you're young, because if you can build those skills, like it will take you far, because you'll understand like so much more contextually as you go, I guess.
Yeah, I think the awareness is more important. Like, yeah, the hard skill sets, then you start to build income skills, and then you can actually apply those. But like, I think the awareness for me was really what made me, I think, different at the agency, especially because it wasn't just like, hey, here's a report, here's the numbers. It's like, oh, but this is the next steps of this, because if we look at the financial model of what they're going through in their industry, boom, 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 boom. And it was like, oh, like that's strategy. And so I think courses really help build strategy in different industries, gives you some awareness.
For sure.
You're telling me that learning about the Civil War for 20 years in school isn't a skill set?
I have yet to apply that so far.
Bro, can you imagine for 20 years they taught us how to read financials of companies and like
right? Instead of teaching us the same, dude, like you're so right. We learned about the Civil War like 4 times throughout, at least 4.
What are you talking about, bro? I got to college first of all, as a doctor. I wanted to go into medical, and then I shifted to business. And in both of them, they made me choose. It's literally like the only way you will ever graduate is if you take one of this, pre-Civil War or post-Civil War history. Which one would you like? I'm like, why the fuck is the pre even an option, bro? Like, why in my life am I ever going to need to know what life was like 200 to thousands of years ago? Like, it's not going to help me. Like, help me understand the last 100 years economically. And, bro, we would have all been so much better off. You know what I mean? In, like, the 2008 crash now, like, just in general, like, even now, like, for example, I'll make this call on camera because I'm betting that I'm right here. But example.
Oh, okay.
No, just an example, like, logically in history. You know, I bought a house, and it's a new build, and we've been waiting now 4 months. We need another, like, 5, let's say, for it to finish, for us to move in, okay? In that time, interest rates have gone from 2.5% to now like 6-7. Okay. Houses are probably going to decrease slightly in value. So I'm losing on both ends of the stick while just sitting here on my hands. I have no other choice but to get this house at this point. But looking back at history, I have the awareness of inflation, what happened with the markets, what happened with mortgages, even just doing the research. Like, he walked into my office today, I had the last 100 years of mortgage rates on my screen just to understand. You know what I mean? And today I signed a paper locking a rate at 6% 6 months from now. So like, no matter what, if in 6 months from now my interest rate is going to be higher than 6%, I'm locked at 6. So I'm betting that it's going to be 9, just an example, right? And that 9, it sounds like 3%. It's nothing. But on a loan, that's $1,000 a month is the spread of that percent on my house. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a lot. So like, just having the awareness based on history and financial as basic and as easy as this sounds and logical, most people that I talk to don't even think of that. They're like unaware that our interest rate could go to 9-10%. Dude, when I looked at the last 40 years, more like probably 80% of it was over 6%. Like maybe more, maybe 85-90%.
From the last 100 years?
No, last 30-40, bro.
Oh, wow.
Since the 80s. Most years inflation was like high 7, I mean not inflation, mortgage rates, 7, 8s, eights, nines, seven and a half. You know what I mean? So I'm like, whereas in the last 3 years, you hear 6, you're like, holy shit, 6, bro. My friend got one for like 1.5%, 2%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You think it's so much, but in retrospect, it's nothing. So like, just the financial history allowed me to make that bet. Now, in 6 months, I could be wrong, it could be right, but if it's lower, I get the lower rate anyways. You know what I mean?
I think you're on to, like, you're probably right in making that bet. We'll see, a couple months from now whether that's right or not. But I actually just read a report that Wall Street and a lot of these hedge funds are buying a lot of these houses 30% premium, like a premium on the actual retail price of these homes. And so, like, they're trying to buy up, I think it's like 1 in every 7 homes is owned by Wall Street. So it's like every single one of these houses, they're just being gobbled up for cash flow. Right. And so the yield
not being sold.
Yeah, they're not being
absolutely
sold.
At all costs.
Exactly. And so like they're going to keep that cash flow. Even if they take a hit for the next 3 to 5 years, they know that house isn't really going to go anywhere. Right. They can keep on to that, either, continue to sell interest rate or mortgages like that after inflation, we'll see where they go. But I think like just those moves and having the awareness of what's happening in other markets all starts to impact the decisions you make in your business, whether it's even correlated to real estate or not.
Yeah, bro. And that's 1 out of 7 in the US.
Yeah.
Some areas it's like dramatically more. Like people understand that. Like they're not going and buying really, really low income places. They're buying like pretty nice residential places, honestly, and they're owning the market. And that's why I don't think houses below $1 million in the US will have a market crash. Like it's not going to be more than a 10-15% max dip.
You think it'll be all the super low income homes?
No, I think the higher
the
over 1 million are definitely like your house is worth 2.5. It's probably going to be worth 2, 1.7, 1.8 because that buyer pool is going to shrink pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the below 1 mil, there's so much, dude. Alpharetta, like where I just bought a house, bro. The last like 5 homes were bought by companies. Like I'm fighting companies in a blind bidding war. Like private hedge funds are sending an email blind bid against me. Me and my wife trying to have a kid and make a living here in the world, and these guys are just blindly overbidding $100,000.
Dude, it's 2 different worlds, man. It's 2 different worlds. Like the whole finance side of just having free money printed or just being able to take out super cheap interest loans and then being able to buy up loans for different or other properties and stuff for a different spread. Like it's a whole nother game versus what we were taught growing up, just to work hard, build a business. And yeah, that does help, obviously, continue to build, your incomes and stuff. But it's just 2 different worlds that you get access to capital.
I think financial arbitrage is one of the most slept on ways to make money, and everyone should be doing it passively in some way. I don't know if you know, like the owner of FTX. Do you know the story of FTX?
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Right?
What's his name again?
Sam something.
Bro, he's worth like $50 billion right now. Because it's
Yesterday,
out of control,
Pomp put out a video saying he was crypto's Warren Buffett because he's just holding for a dip. Like that's what Warren was built on.
I forgot the number.
He's just waiting for the bear.
They do stupid revenue.
Yeah,
they
insane.
have 200 employees.
Yeah, and they're acquiring so many exchanges right now that are like these exchanges that are getting wiped out right now. They're just gobbling them up.
Or they just have pure cash. Do you know? What was I gonna say? Like Coinbase let go of more employees than FTX has as a company.
That's insane.
Like what? That's how lean they are, bro. It made me feel like a piece of shit. I'm like, how the hell do we have 85 employees? These guys are processing billions of dollars of net fees.
That's crazy.
With 200 people. But my point is,
and they're all remote.
He started with arbitrage, right? He bought money in one market, sold it in another, right? Just my main point is, I think definitely take away something I'm not good at all that I'm trying to improve on is like understanding borrowing and moving money from loan to debt to asset back to debt, pulling, refinancing, just all these financial arbitrage, let's call them, in this pocket pool of like, I get something for 3% and then I make 2 percentage points by getting something that makes me 5%, et cetera, et cetera. Getting loans out, refinancing your home, getting it as a loan, which means it doesn't count as income. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, you're not taxed on it.
Taking loans against your income so that you're not taxed against it. Until
using money that you're not taxed on to buy things.
Just like that entire game is a game I really wish like I could just buy a course on for like 3 months and just learn everything about it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So if you're listening, you better go develop out a course and create your arbitrage secrets.
No, but really, bro, there's people sit on their ass and make tens of millions of dollars just by a percentage point.
Yeah.
You know, that's all it takes. So
I think we saw a lot of that too in like crypto, like especially, I don't know if you guys heard of what happened with like 3 Arrows Capital. Have you guys heard of what's happening with them? So this whole Luna,
Who is it?
Three Arrows Capital, they were this
Tell me the
massive hedge
story.
fund.
Once you said Luna, I probably heard the story already.
Yeah, so there's this massive hedge fund that actually was really deep into Luna. Like they had hundreds of millions. I don't even know the exact number, but they were super highly levered and exposed into that whole protocol.
You're talking when the people came and completely fucking wiped them out.
Two different things. So the way that Luna crashed was supposedly BlackRock had taken a borrowed position and basically had made that whole depegging happen, and everything just crashed after that.
Well, explain that, because it's a pretty cool story for people that don't know this.
So I'm not the expert on exactly what happened.
Bro, if someone's fucking bitching in the comments about the details.
But in short, basically what had happened is that if you guys don't know, Luna was a cryptocurrency project that had two parts to it. One, it had a token that every single time that someone would buy into that token, it had a burn mechanism, which means it would just delete a coin if you bought one in the other coin. And one of them was a stable coin, so 1-to-1 equivalent of the US dollar. And then the other one was their own little project.
But it was an algorithmic stable coin.
Exactly.
Meaning that not like in traditional stable coin, you would think I give you one USD and you give me one of your token.
And
So there's always an equal amount of dollars in your thing that I have.
It's backed by reserves or cash equivalents. So that could be commercial paper, that could be loans, that could be something that could easily grab the cash in case there's any liquidity event, meaning that they needed the money. And so that they created a algorithmic one, which basically was to create a decentralized version of what these coins do. So instead of having a central entity have all that cash on the sideline to back it, it was just pegged in this algorithm. And what had happened was, because Luna, they had actually, their company, they had bought a bunch of Bitcoin, that was going to be the way that they back their stable coin. So it's called the Bitcoin standard, where other people, base things off the fiat standard, having things backed into a certain currency. And so they made that move of basically backing their stable coin by Bitcoin. But what happened was, as soon as they had done that, BlackRock, I believe, was the institution that had actually basically had taken out a series of loans and given entities loans to be able to make that depegging or make that pegging depeg. And so what happened was that as the UST price continued to go down, people tried to sell their UST for Luna, which then created that mechanism of burning and continuing to push things downward. And to the point where people saw that happening, unraveling, and everyone tried to get their money out. So as everyone was pulling their money out of Luna and pulling it out of USDT, everything was just tanking really, really hard. And some of these bigger players that had hundreds of millions of dollars in this whole entire ecosystem got hit massively. And so that whole point of taking money from one hand, moving it to the next exchange and the next exchange for the next yield or whatever, that company, 3Axis Capital or Arrow Capital, they had money from a lot of different pools, but one of them was Voyager. And basically they were so highly levered in this whole Luna project that once their capital went to basically zero, they had to take a loan against from Voyager. They gave them like $100 million or something like that, and they just defaulted on that loan. So it's like this whole catapult effect of just everyone either taking out loans and defaulting on them, or this whole liquidity being sucked out because they can't maintain the positions anymore based off of Luna. So basically, if you had crypto assets in BlockFi and Nexo and Celcius, any one of these really exchanges or companies that had some sort of yield based into their program, you were exposed to this whole DeFi sector that you didn't even know about. And so a lot of liquidity really caused these markets to crash and positions get liquidated.
Bro, this is something that I've been saying to my crypto boys for a long time. I've verbalized it a lot to my friends. I said, bro, if someone is paying me 20 to 40% on a yield, there is risk. Like, there is high risk, and that is the only reason I'm paid out this time. No, it's DeFi, and it's this, and it's that, and
we're
blah,
the
blah.
banks now.
Yeah, but I'm like, bro, this is just how it works. In Lebanon, we got paid, what was it, 20% on our
for just holding your money in a savings account.
Just for putting it in the bank in a savings account.
Really?
Yeah, it's like we had a good bit of money there, but like, even so, it's not like that much. And they would give us like 20 to 25% a year. Normal people would get like 12 to 15. And I always told my family, I'm like, dude, that means it's high risk. I'm like, the reason the 0.03 we get at the US, which I don't justify that either, is because it's low risk. The dollar is a low risk currency. And so when you're putting it in this other currency to make 15, 20%, it's at risk. And that's why it's being rewarded. So that currency crashed 30x. So
Wow.
whatever was worth $1 is now worth 3 cents.
What was the Lebanon currency called?
Liras.
Mm.
Anyways, that crashed.
But everything's still being priced in liras there right now, yeah?
No.
It's all being priced in USD?
They're buying in USD and they're selling in liras. Do you get what I'm saying?
Whoa.
So as
Wow.
a restaurant, we have to pay for oil in dollars. We have to pay for food in dollars. But in order to gain a customer, we have to sell them in liras, because if we charge in dollars, it's really too inflated of a pricing. So like someone will come, eat a steak, have a beer, have a great time, an appetizer, leave, a hookah, and we'll charge them $5. Whereas we used to charge 40, 50, 60.
Wow.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
100. So anyways, I'm saying that because like this was always my call, was like, even like the crypto.coms and all these guys who are giving yield on certain things, like I put money in some, but I was very hesitant to like, I have friends who are like, dude, I got 4 million cash and I'm putting it all in this thing that's going to yield me 20%. I'm like, holy fuck, he's going to make so much money if it works. But if the downside is the downside based on the 40% yield he's getting, then there's a huge problem here.
The big thing that really made me stop really going into those protocols is when they switched it from APR to APY. Because then it becomes Ponzi-nomic, in which it's that whole compounding effect, but you literally have like 9, 10, or 11 months before that actually starts to trickle in. And so they just had to hold your money for that period of time. And then they started moving it around. If you read the documents from Celcius or BlockFi, a lot of these companies that, had these just yield
And they
programs.
shut down, right?
BlockFi's still up. Celcius, not looking too pretty right now.
Well, BlockFi is getting purchased by FTX.
FTX, I heard.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So they're kind of fucked. That's probably why they're getting purchased.
Not really. I mean, he has a bunch of money.
Good point.
Sam is buying up so much stuff in the crypto space. Like, he is going to be probably the crypto Warren Buffett just because of that huge arbitrage play he had. And, dude, he's sitting on billions of dollars. Like, I think last I saw his net worth, dude, was right when he bought the FTX arena in Miami. Like, it was like $28 billion or something like that.
Oh, it's at like 55 or something right
I was
now.
like,
I was looking yesterday, actually.
But just think about the time frame, dude. 28 billion, and I may be wrong, but 28 billion from there, a year later, 55, and he's just buying.
What do you
up
mean
those other
time frame,
companies.
bro? Let's take it back 2 years before his 28. It was like 0.
Yeah, I know.
He just started in 2019, bro. It's not like some shit that happened like 10 years ago that he's built up. It was like in 36 months.
That's insane.
This man has accumulated the wealth of Jeff Bezos.
That's wild.
He's 29. It's just really
almost
funny,
like
bro.
uncomprehendable.
Right? It's like,
It really is.
and he's like clearly, from what we're seeing, like 1 year away from actually surpassing, like being in the 150 billion club like this. He's in 60, bro.
Yeah,
Like
we'll see.
before all this.
That's insane.
Anyways, just some crazy shit. I don't know how the fuck we even got here, but what happened with Celcius? You're a crypto guy.
Yeah, so Celsius, they had a lot of scandals in which that they were really highly levered into Luna. They were just kind of, from what it seems like, they've just been hiring fake names to be on these positions that aren't qualified for the position. So basically just placing people to look like they're legit. And they've just been running some schemes of basically being like a mini hedge fund, if you will, taking people's money in, and instead of actually abiding by their agreements of having it backed by something, they were playing in the whole DeFi liquidity pool game. They were playing in all these different areas. But I mean, at the same time, token, Coinbase, as soon as you buy something on Coinbase and you keep it there, like, it's not your crypto, it's their crypto. They can do whatever they want with it, right? So you got to move it offline in order for it to be yours. So, I mean, you gave your crypto to those guys and they just moved it around at the end of the day.
Yeah, I took that advice from you, and I got a Ledger Nano X, and I moved my shit to a cold storage 48 hours ago, baby. So I'm safe.
There you go.
I'm
There you
safe.
go.
I'm looking really worried.
As long
bro.
as you keep that USB stick in a good place.
The what?
That USB stick, as long as you keep it in a good place.
Right in there. Safe as it gets.
Dude, they sound like a little accessory that's like
I'm like in the bathroom in the airport, and like a little metal ding hits the toilet. I'm like, no!
It just goes down. Oh, man.
But yeah, I got it safe. I actually bought a rectangle safe, like a small one, to put it in.
Yeah.
Just because I know I wouldn't lose this. Like my wife's like, why don't we wait till we move into the house and like understand where we're gonna fit like the big safe. The point of it is no one can carry it and take it out of the house. I'm like, yeah. The point of this safe for me is I don't lose the small USB stick. So I need a big box that's made of metal that no one can open. So I make sure I don't lose it. She's like, I get it. So we literally bought a safe just for the USB stick.
That's funny. That's like some James Bond type shit where you just have like one little thing.
Yeah, right. It's like a movie. It's like one note. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
dude,
4 words.
That's how I feel sometimes with the micro SD cards. Like I'm like carrying important footage or something, and I'm like, I can't lose this stupid
100%.
little brick of
it's like
information.
something that's so small you like put on a carpet and you can't see it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's like toxic.
Yeah. The little tiny pocket on jeans sometimes saves me because I'm like, I'll put it in the little pocket.
I can't. I forget stuff and I wash it and then I like pull it out 3 months later. I'm like,
Facts.
oh.
Like there's where that AirPod went.
All the time. We're just talking about
I knew you were going to bring it up,
whole drawer of AirPods, bro.
Of single AirPods
like,
or
no,
just
like
cases?
cases, bro. Whether it's single or double or none, it's a shit
Dude, it's
show.
wild that AirPods actually, if they were a Fortune 500 company like as their own, they'd be a Fortune 100 company or something crazy like that. Like just AirPods as a business.
Yeah, the product line.
Separate from Apple.
I think they were evaluated like when they first came out, when it really started going mainstream, like $2 billion, just like right out the gate, just like that. I was like, dude, that's the power of like Apple. You have one system, you introduce a new product, and now you added an additional, I think it's like 15% of their revenue now or something like that. It's just like
insane.
Nuts.
Even those wireless headphones that they came out with, the over-ear ones.
The Beats ones?
Bro.
Oh, the Beats?
The Beats Pro or whatever?
No, like are they Beats?
Oh, I know what you're talking
like
about. The
Apple.
AirPods Pro Max, which are like these type. Like,
Bro, I'm getting on sales calls with like really well-off business owners.
they
and
all
like,
have them.
They all have them. That's all
Really?
they use. Yeah.
It pisses me off when people wear them to the gym. I'm just like, dude, what are you doing?
It's just like bringing a whole DJ set to the gym. You might as well
Yeah.
just,
It's like, dude, just fucking wear some AirPods, bro.
But to be fair, people wore Beats over
Like,
ears.
I
in
must
the gym.
have the highest. I know, but like,
It's the
I
same
must
thing.
have the highest quality audio while I work my muscles.
You're
yeah,
stupid.
speaking of the gym, man, people get like super fancy for the gym sometimes. Like I went to Elevation, and I'm not sure if you guys know Elevation Fitness. They're like down in Miami.
I've seen you and Kendall post it all the time.
Yeah, dude. I mean, a lot of bodybuilders go there. Like
You're also in
everyone there
Miami.
is- Yeah, everyone there is freaking jacked, dude. Like insane, male, female, like ripped to the nine. And they have like the flyest freaking stuff too, man. It's like all the Alpha Elite stuff, or the crazy headphones we were just talking about. Like always,
It's
just
a
fly,
lifestyle,
dude.
bro.
Yeah, it's the whole thing.
I used to be into that when I was in college. Fuck that though. A lot
Yeah.
of work. So Cardone, what was it called?
Yeah, Cardone Kern advertising, I think.
Cardone current advertising. We never like really jumped after that. So like what happened there? Why'd you stop?
So so I got like super stressed, man. I was working full time from basically 4 a.m. till about noon was my shift with them. It was actually 5 a.m. to noon, but I woke up at 4. And then school was from 2 till 10. So I was working basically 4 a.m. to midnight every single day. And I was super happy to do it at first, probably for like 3 to 4 months. I was like, yeah, let's go. And then it got to a point where my position actually shifted to more of that marketing strategist role, and I was overseeing a lot. And I remember when I was in my marketing class at college, when I got to the social media section, I'm like, dude, can I just go up there and teach? Like, this is not. They were talking about like blogs, dude. I was like,
Oh my god,
that was like so 2014 or something, 2010. I don't even know. But they were talking about just all that stuff. I'm like, well, actually, this is how it works. And I would write it all out. And she'd be like, okay, cool. And it was kind of cool.
You legitimately were like teaching the class, basically.
It got to that, really, because a lot of people were like, they knew about Grant Cardone. Like, everyone probably under 25 knows about Grant Cardone at some point. Like, they figure it out, or they know him for real estate, for marketing.
Yeah.
And so...
and you were in college working for him.
Yeah, so I had a little bit of a...
You definitely got some bitches.
little chip on my shoulder for that.
You know?
Yeah, a little respect. And... but dude, my health went to shit, to be honest, during that whole time. Like,
Yeah, we're sleeping what? You said you were working from like midnight to, or you were sleeping
4
from
a.m.
midnight to 4 a.m. Geez.
Yeah, dude, I was getting like 4 or 5 hours of sleep every night. And then on top of that, you got like exams, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and like there was no time for any of that stuff. And so right around like November, right when like finals were coming up, I was like, dude, I can't do it anymore. I called up my man Steve, and I was like, yo, I got to go. Steve was the account manager I worked with all the time. Him and I are really good boys now, but I was like, dude, I can't. And he's like what? Like, you were so head into this thing like 2 days ago. Like, what happened? I'd actually had like this whole health scare, like where I couldn't sleep. And I remember it was actually pretty nuts. I had come home after like literally not sleeping for like 48 hours. It was like work, school. And I had a client that just like totally ripped me a new one, just like yelling at me, screaming at me. And it wasn't even like me that was in charge of the account. I was just covering for someone. And I was like, dude, I can't do this anymore. So I had gotten home and I totally passed out. Like, I didn't even know what had happened. And so my mom came back, and apparently I was like screaming, like really, really loud, like top of my lungs in my sleep. Everything off the shelves was, coming down. And I didn't even know that happened until I woke up. She'd woke me up. And like my voice was really, scratchy and all that kind of stuff. I was like, what the hell happened? And that's when I knew. I was like, dude, I can't do that anymore. There's too much stress on my plate from everything. And I almost quit marketing in general after all that. And so I left the agency, was still doing school and all that. And that was pretty easy to do. I was always really good at school. It wasn't really too hard. And I really had like a conversation with God at that point. I was like, dude, do you want me to do marketing anymore? Like, I just learned what most people would say that there's their dream job. They got to work with these guys. Like, should I even do this anymore? And I had like basically like a 1 month sabbatical where I was just kind of floating around, figuring it out.
You need that sometimes, bro.
Yeah, man. And
also, what the fuck people bitch about working hard? Do you hear this shit? Bro, I swear to God, we've had people work here and like in a month be like, I didn't expect I had to clock in. I'm like,
I know, man.
You're like coming here anyways. Why is it so hard to just do this? Like, you're already here.
One click, check off the task.
I've started seeing a therapist because it's just so difficult on me. It's overwhelmingly unbearable. I'm like, all right, like, I don't know what world we live in now.
Yeah, seriously, man.
This man, 12 to 4, bro. When I used to work out Lifetime Fitness, I fucking show up at 5 in the morning, work out, and leave at midnight.
Yeah.
After a second workout. No fucking complaints.
Yeah.
Same shit, right? Like,
yeah,
bro, especially like 20 to like 25. It's just like you have nothing to fucking worry about in the entire world.
Yeah. Like,
except like just fucking grinding and growing.
For sure. Like, don't get dependents too soon. My brother always told me, like, don't get dependents too soon, because he had kind of done that a little bit earlier. Dependents being like kids or girlfriend, wife, like whatever. Try and stay as focused as you can as you're figuring it all out. And luckily I kind of went through that. And when I went through that whole thing with the agency and I left, I was like, dude, should I even do this myself again? Like, there's a lot of work that obviously I learned how to do. I didn't build the skill sets yet for building a team, managing a team. It was just like all manual stuff. I never delegated anything.
Yeah.
And then come around like the growth con, I was like, all right, dude, I'm going to come back to Grant Cardone's ecosystem, but this time I'm going to have a business instead of, working for him. I thought this was like a whole romantic story, right? And
Grant's going to cry when he sees me.
He's going to welcome me with open arms.
I did have that full circle. It's pretty crazy. So I went to GrowthCon there just because I knew a lot of people. A lot of people saw my face from Zoom calls and stuff. Instantly got like 13, 14 clients. And then kind of catapulted there, kept growing and growing and growing. And that's when I had met Kendall, which is my business partner now. And that's when we had hit it off down in Mexico in a mastermind that we had joined for agencies. And then that's when we really partnered up. Yeah, that was Joel's group.
Joel's group?
Mm-hmm. And
that's cool, because Joel's been on this podcast. People know who he is.
Yeah. So we had known each other. Like, the media buying space to a certain extent just gets really, really small. Like, if you're doing it, if you're pushing numbers, like, people know who you are at some point. They'll figure it out. And so we had kind of come together. And honestly, he was in the e-commerce space a lot heavier than I was. I just had e-commerce experience from marketing. And I was like learning from him a little bit. Then I was giving him some game on like agency structure and stuff and kind of like what we were doing. And then we finally just kind of fused. And then we've had that partnership for about a year or 2 years now. Yeah, about 2 years we've been working together. And that's kind of where we're at now. And so, but to circle back on like the Grant Cardone thing, I had worked with him then. And then I basically went through his whole entire funnel. So I first started out, dude, I couldn't afford anything. So I was getting like his free plus shipping books, like 10X rule, like pirating some of his stuff, like just trying to find those free PDFs, to
so
like learn.
Funny.
I went through all the YouTube videos. Like, dude, if you look at my YouTube history, it's like all freaking Grant Cardone. And then I continued to go down that funnel. And what happened was that once I started kind of growing the business, I was like, let me go attend like the business boot camps and the stuff that I used to watch all the time. And literally, I've probably bought like almost every single one of his products. And then flash forward, I actually went and saw him in Miami. And it was like a private little like intimate time with him and like maybe 20 other people. And I was like, dude, that's so crazy. Just to think of it from a marketing perspective, like, I was on the total outside of the funnel and actually came in it and totally through all of Grant's stuff. So I was like, product of Grant. It's kind of funny.
That is pretty wild.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. That's why the funnel is a funnel. That's why we build it like we build it.
The easiest people to sell to is people like us.
Yeah.
That's why we're begging to be sold.
Like, we're literally, like, Andrew literally fucking dropped a bag to go for a day and a half to learn about crypto from other people.
That was like the first time I'd done like that.
You dropped
big of
a
one.
bag, bro.
That was like the first, and it was
like,
in crypto too. So I was like, if I held this for like a couple more weeks, it might be worth even more.
What was it, like a full month of salary, basically?
I don't remember. It was like a couple of ETH or something. But at the time, ETH was still up, so it was like
Yeah,
it was
like
a
lot.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was weird to do that, but it felt like I don't regret any of it, and it was great.
I mean, yeah, I'm just saying for perspective, you paid that to go sit in a room, like
Literally.
in a classroom,
To go sit in a room
at a
and
school.
Yeah,
like literally in a classroom for like 2 days.
Can't go wrong with
But
investing
like
in yourself, man.
and he was fucking itching to buy it for like forever. I must have it. You know? What I
no,
mean?
it was to
We're
the point where I was like, I'm gonna get it, but I didn't know how fast it was gonna sell out. Then I saw on someone's story that there was like one ticket left, and I was at the gym, and I was like, first of all, I've got to buy this in crypto, which means I've got to move a couple of things around. I can't just like do this on my phone real fast. And then I was like, second of all, if I want this, I should just finish my workout right now and drive home. And I literally did it. I finished my workout immediately, and I was like, I'm going home because I'm going to try to buy this. And then I got home and I like figured it out real fast, like moved some shit, like made an OpenSea account, and then I like bought the thing because it was like an NFT was the ticket. But it was crazy because I was like, finally when it was over, it's like, holy shit, I did it. Like it was like a crazy moment. Like I wasn't sure if I was going to get it the whole time on my way home. I'm like speeding.
Went to like the crypto financial Olympics, man.
Yeah,
hurdling and shit moving.
Yeah, I was like,
over
why is my MetaMask not accepting this thing? Like, fuck.
Yeah. Gas fees, damn it. Let me wait, see if it goes down.
Yeah.
But like that's fucking crazy.
It is
that's
crazy.
how easy we are to sell to, is people who like seek knowledge and are open minded to that kind of stuff. Like even courses, you know what I mean? Like so many people bash courses. I'm like, bro, like you have no fucking idea. Obviously, like you just went to school for 5 years and listened to a 7-year-old teach you.
They're bashing it because they're saying they're too expensive, or they're not.
Just like
worth
courses in general are,
are
like a waste of money or dude, I spent so much fucking money on courses, probably more than anything else up till buying this house.
Dude, Jonathan Kendall brought up something really interesting on this. I think it was on the podcast he talked about it, but he was saying like masterclass and things like that. Like wait until like a Netflix acquires one of those. Like that will be pretty wild to be able to open up like Netflix and there's like master classes there, like an education.
I would binge
section.
those, honestly.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
If
and I think
masterclass was on Netflix, I would watch it.
Right? If I could just watch like Gordon Ramsay teaching me shit all the time, or like, you know, whoever, like that's just fun. Like I'd rather watch, I feel like that's kind of why I like to watch a lot of YouTube, because I feel like at least I'm hopefully getting something out of this, and it's also entertaining. Like I feel like masterclass is like right there.
Edutainment.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I think it also differentiates like the consumer. If you think about it just from who consumes the media, like the people that seek it out actually go get the course. They actually go do it. Like I think that everything's available at this point. Like people that are going to find it, either going to find it. You can connect your laptop to the TV, watch it. You know, I always think, like, because to your point, people not working hard or making excuses, not clocking in, or just simple little things. It's like, it's all out there. It's just how driven are you to actually find the answer? You may go down a rabbit hole for a long time. When I first got into crypto, dude, I went down a rabbit hole for like 9 months. Like nobody saw me. I was like just going down this freaking rabbit hole of like crypto weird stuff. And I was like figuring out, I'm not even close to knowing everything. Like it just continues to change and evolve so quick. As soon as you take your eyes off it, a month later, it's like totally different world. Especially the NFT game. Like that thing runs every hour, basically. Like you figure out what's hot or not. So I think at least for me, like I've always just been driven to learn, like super analytical dude. So like I don't make excuses for people for not figuring it out or going to search and find it, you know?
Totally.
So you started an agency, you're partnering up with Kendall.
Yeah, man.
And then you no longer have an agency.
That's
Whoa.
right. That's
what
right.
happened there? You guys ran it for a while and you ran it well. You know, you had some good clients, you had some good brands.
Yeah.
So like what happened? Why the pivot?
The reason why I partnered up with Kendall in the beginning wasn't to have an agency. Prior to, you know, us partnering up, we had our own agencies. Like we could run it ourselves. Like not in a bad way. I don't need you. Like we're both very operator heavy.
Well, like it's also good to have a partner, bro.
For sure. And I had a partner at the time on that agency, so it wasn't like.
Was it the one I met on the trip?
Think so.
No longer friends?
No longer in communications.
Okay, cool.
No.
Same guy.
Yeah, so same guy. But to that point though, I think it's good to have a friend that's in the same industry, can understand like the technicalities of what you go through on a day to day, not just like, you know, be good buddies. But the whole idea was to combine each other to then go get pieces of equities of brands and then have that entity be the operating arm. So we wanted to do kind of, this could be like an ego stroke for me or whatever. What I was trying to do is like go acquire eCom brands and then make the agency run them. And that kind of became more of like an acquisitions game. And then the check size is really just, whose dick is bigger contest of like how many brands do you have or what's the EBITDA multiple. So it's like, that was a whole nother game in and of itself. And I'm glad that I didn't acquire brands at that time, because the reason why I wanted to do that is because I had four different clients that we had scaled up massively. I'm talking like 500 grand to 10 million, 1 million to 4 million in like 5 months, like 18 grand to like literally 500K a month in like short period of time. Like we were able to run up ads really, really easily. And every single time either the rev share was too expensive or they didn't financially model out their COGS and all that kind of stuff. And because I kind of had that awareness, like I'd bring up those conversations, but they didn't have those awarenesses. And so the operator was kind of in the way. And so when we were kind of betting on rev shares to be paid out or things like that, it was just a weird game because we were building all the leverage of our teams and the money was flowing outwards, yet we weren't being paid back on that outflow rather than just a retainer. Like the big money was in the rev shares and stuff that we had agreed on. And I was like, okay, I have the leverage of a team. Like we're great with media buying, all that kind of stuff. Like we got that skill set down. We're building out content teams. We're building out, all these different infrastructures. Why don't we just go either acquire the brands ourselves, run our own brands, or go do this done for you model? And so what we did during that time, Kendall had actually had another business where we did that done for you model as well. And that brand was for a buddy of ours that just kept hitting us up like, dude, I want something with you guys. Like, I don't have a business yet, but I want something. So you guys, scaling up brands, hitting 10 million, 20, 40 million, whatever it is, in revenues, like, can you do something for me? So we did. And that brand just over the past, I would say 16 months, has done like 800, 900 grand. You guys have actually now created content for it. And is netted, like 20 to 40 or 23%. So like 200 grand net just for us doing that brand for him. And that's when I was like, okay, if we're going to go build out leverage, we got 50% of the net profit share on that as well. So it's like that actually paid us 100 grand on top of, the setups and getting things running. And we actually enjoyed it. The stress went way down because we weren't bickering about, CSM and like client to CSM to media buyer, like that whole communication loop. Like, let's just do this automation model, and just cut the fat in the middle and just kind of build these things, and all the innovation of content ideas or email marketing campaigns, like we can have more control over the ops. So that's what we did. And so that's why we shut down the agency, converted most of the team into the done for you model.
Question.
And that's when we moved.
Important question.
Yeah.
In doing so, was there a lag of finances? So let me give an example, right? We spend a fuck ton on payroll. I don't think our team really understands how much we fork out just to like pay our team.
Yeah.
Like no matter what, the team makes money even if the business doesn't, technically. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So in that case, let's just say hypothetically in our situation, we were to switch to this model. Not that I want to, but just giving you an example. How would I be able to just abandon the agency that floats that burn rate and move to that model? Like there must have been a period where there was lag, or just like month one, you guys closed 15 clients, just an example.
Yeah. So to give you perspective, we went up to 23 people in our agency.
Which is a good chunk of payroll, bro.
Dude, it was a good chunk of payroll for sure. Yeah. We had slimmed down to about 16. That wasn't even like in the discussion at the time. It was just, we wanted to slim down because just trim the fat, right? The payrolls were getting pretty high.
Yeah.
And when there was a moment in time in which that our accounts receivable, for some like reason with Stripe, we had to switch over from Stripe to QuickBooks. And in that process, 50% between cards not going through, Stripe holding funds or whatever, like we had a lock period where 50% of our revenues actually came in. And so I had to take out personally a loan to pay for the payrolls of the whole team, like making sure that they were good.
Holy shit.
Yeah, dude.
And I don't think like teammates understand and appreciate how hard that is.
Yeah, no, dude. I took a personal loan for like 40 grand.
That's the burden of being a founder that like a lot of people don't like consider,
Yeah.
Like being responsible for so many other people's literal like well-being,
livelihoods, bro.
Dude,
half our team have kids and families and wives. You can't you
can't just like float and be like, hey guys, sorry, can I pay you in a couple weeks?
And what was all
not
happening?
cool.
Yeah, what was all happening at that time? Like, and I think this is kind of why the gas pedal was like coming off the agency. There's a company that wanted to acquire our team to run that done for you model vertically integrated, and they were going to buy us out.
I remember this. We were talking on a call about it.
Yeah,
Northeast of the country.
Mm-hmm.
That are okay.
Or Midwest.
It's like right in
Northeast from here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was like happening, and they were pushing that forward. And then, so the reason why I took out the loan was because like 2 days prior, they were like, "Hey, we're not going to move forward." Oof. And I was like, bro, like, are you serious?
I needed this.
Not that necessarily. The loan was like there. Like I kind of had it as a backup, but I was like
this was where we played our cards towards.
This is where we hedged our bets, and that didn't work out. So I took out the loan, and then when I took out that loan, I wasn't stressed that we weren't going to be able to pay it back, but I was like, okay, equity is a representation of risk. None of you guys, for most of the people that were part of the company, like stuck out their necks to do that. So now I'm over levered in this entity, and I was like, So we're building out leverage for other people. I'm levered into this just from like a financial equation. Like I had to do in the moment, but that doesn't make sense. Especially I have the skill sets to go build my own agency. That's not what I signed up for. And so
you weren't doing that for Grant Cardone's company.
No, I was not doing that for Grant Cardone's company. And so long story short, we're like, you know what? There's some misalignment in things that, we were wanting to do. And two of the partners, so myself, Kendall, and John, were like, dude, let's just go do this automation model. Like, we know it's highly levered. I ran ads for people doing this model all the time. Like, prior to me partnering up with Kendall, I don't want to name drop, but dude, I ran like 10, 15 people's different Amazon automation company ads. Like, I know that space really, really well. So it was more of just, I didn't want to go into it and not deliver for people, because a lot of them, whether they're working with me or not, like, some of them were shady cats, or, they blew up and blew out just because they didn't understand operational infrastructure. In fact, some of them even came to me to do systems consulting and just like draw out how they need to fulfill. So I already built out the systems prior. I was like, all right, cool. So can I actually pivot? Yes, I can pivot. Financially, we'll recover because the model is a lot better. Two, can I systemically fulfill that? Yeah, I can fulfill that. We have the teams. Kendall, and what he's really talented at, he can cover a lot of the things that we're going to need in that while I build some of the other infrastructure. And then three, personal brand. Like, I don't want to look at people and be like, yo, we're an agency now we're doing this, like trying to switch on them. It was more just like, how do I kind of tell the story without, showing all the cards? And so told the story, was completely transparent with it. And then we actually proceeded forward. And literally within 30 days of doing it, we closed 3 clients. And so that covered the payroll. Kendall had to cover some payroll. I covered some payroll just from personal crypto, sold it off, and, paid the team. And then the following month, we've been able to gross and do pretty well with, the amount of stores that we have now. So turned everything around, which is really cool. It was probably the most stressful time. And I think learning, the one lesson I learned out of it, though, I think that most entrepreneurs should go through, is having one slip up or one partnership that actually, I don't want to say ruins it, but takes you down a couple steps, or how close you were to inevitable defeat. Like, having something that happens in your life. So not saying everyone go take out a loan and go, do that. But looking back on it now, that taught me business isn't just all oh, let's go partner up, let's go run up a bag, let's go do it. It's just actually be methodical with what the vision is, core values, missions, alignment, all of that actually matters. Whereas when you come up from, nothing, you just want to get money and, try and flip it.
Fuck the systems, do whatever, let's just run it up.
And it's so important. I think that's kind of the balance between Kendall and I. You had asked me at our last time that we actually spoke was, am I better offensive or defensive? And I think it's kind of who are the players around you? Are you going to be the star quarterback when there's already another star quarterback? Or if you guys are equal and you have another talent that quarterback's not good at? So it was more of I can be offensive on the ads on this particular model and cover back-end operations. Kendall, you fulfill all of the clients on the marketing side because that's your strong suit. I don't want to be in the e-commerce space, at least for this period of time. Not the e-commerce space, but doing the fulfillment and stuff.
Saying, yeah.
You quarterback that, I'll build the systems to support you in that, and then I'll be front end. And that's how we built it. And so that's kind of how we turned everything around, as well as just, played to each other's strengths.
God, I asked some good questions,
That was good. You do. Made me think, man. Made me think. Because I was
I just filmed a reel on this 2 days ago.
Offense and defense.
Yeah. I literally just filmed a reel on it. I think it's a good question to understand. A lot of people are who should I hire first and shit like that. I think that's an easy way to. I even broke down our company like that on Monday. I was like, guys.
Literally, you did.
Let me just explain our company to everyone. You're all defense, and I am on offense by myself.
That's why you're wearing the jersey.
I was like, my job is to put up more points and you guys lose. And if we do that every month, we keep winning.
That's one way to look at it, man. Keep it simple. X's and O's, right?
I'm like, you guys will never get your turn to 0, but your goal is to get it. What's that like? What's it called in math? When like something never will hit 0, but it will get as close as possible and continually getting closer.
I know what you mean. Like the curve, it will always
logarithmic curve. Like, or no, that's actually the parabola thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
So that's what I drew. I was like, this is your goal, which you're doing. And my goal.
With sales, I can never go lower than 0, and you guys can never go higher than 0.
Yeah, we're just on two sides of
opposite
chart,
ends.
and I'm supposed to go this way, and you're supposed to go this way.
So to like second that, like your whole point of like, how would I ever pivot if I were to do that now? It's all assets at some point become liabilities. So you may not have the ability, even though the agency is the asset, depending on how you may want to structure that, like you may not be able to pivot that because that's your liability. Your burn rate is XYZ.
Yeah.
And I learned that from Grant. Like, repeatedly, assets always become liabilities at some point. So your skill sets of media buying, your skill sets of XYZ, at some point it's going to cap out. It's going to be your liability. That's what keeps you at a certain spot. And so when I learned that for the agency side, that's kind of what helped me through it. And then my buddy Evan, I want to give him a quick shout out. He actually was probably the person that helped me pivot and make that decision, because it was a big one. Like big ego check, big, just kind of ego shaking up moment. And he was like, dude, like, what are you doing, man? And he had built like an 8-figure e-commerce brand, and I had consulted him and stuff, and we had gone back and forth, and he was just like, dude, like, I don't think your leverage is here. And I was like, because I explained the whole situation. He's like, dude, you have all these skill sets, just do this model. Not that he pushed me into the model, I kind of explained it to him. He's like, just do that. You already know how to do it. It's not a matter of lack of the skill set, lack of the execution. You have all the teams to be able to do it. It's just pulling the plug.
Which is the hardest part, is really getting the team together.
Yeah, that's the hardest part.
Like over the last 2 years, we've really built a strong team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I credit everything to the team, man. Like there's like the personal brand side where people just kind of see what I post out. And then there's all like the back end of like the fulfillment of what we do. And the personal brand side is actually pretty lean compared to the back end fulfillment. Back end fulfillment's like extremely complicated. It has a lot more. It's simple when you build out an agency, like you get it, but like there's a lot more moving pieces compared to a personal brand. But personal brand typically gets all the credit. So I always give a lot of credit to the team, because that's always changing and being dynamic with the campaigns and stuff.
And then the hardest part is that running an agency.
Yeah.
You have the agency is the hard one, the middle one's the e-com, and then the personal brand's the easiest.
Yeah.
I always tell everyone, I'm like, guys, like if we figure out scaling an agency, any of us can go start any other fucking company we want. Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
It's so funny, bro. It's so funny when people like, okay, so I charge $3K an hour essentially. Like if someone's gonna come with a business and actually ask me for advice for 60 to 90 minutes, that's what I charge. I probably book 6 to 10 a month, like on a weekend, like or after work at night, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
That's for my personal brand. My point is, our business is so complex that no matter whose business I get on a call with, within 60 to 90 minutes, I've changed their entire company, and they're like, this is the best advice I've ever received, because everything is so much simpler.
Yeah.
And
You know what I mean? I'm like, wait, it's right here. Just do this.
Yeah,
Like,
book
oh,
appointments, fulfill, have a good CSM, and that's about
like,
it.
but it's not just agency owners. Like, for example, like, law firms, coaching businesses, retail businesses, people who own, like, I own 15 clothing stores. I need help with this. I own restaurant, like any kind of business. When they explain their business to me and we actually draw it on paper, I'm like, this is so fucking easy. Like, so it's so much easier to solve things. So that's something I definitely like.
There's a lot of parallels. There's a lot of parallels in complex systems. Once you've like learned one complex system, trying to learn another complex system, there's probably going to be a lot of parallels that you can make. Like skills that you're like, if you learn one editing software and you try to go learn some other type of software, you're going to be like, oh, that's kind of like when I do this and this thing,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it just makes, even you, bro, the skills outside of like shooting and editing, like running a team, understanding departments, problems, people, systems, project management, cash flow, sales, the amount of skills you've learned in the last year and 8 months has been insane, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So like just being able to take
moving crypto, you learn how to do that and to buy that program.
I fucking every day for the last like week, I've been like, hey, did you get a cold wallet yet? And he's like, no. Fuck, I forgot. Because every time he makes an excuse. Yesterday I was like, hey, you're not allowed to leave the office today until you get a cold wallet. And then like 5:15 sends me a receipt. He bought a ledger.
There you go.
I'm like, you can leave today. Congrats.
Now you can clock out.
Yeah. So that's cool, man. So where do you see the future of like ecom going? Also, since you're, some sort of reliable source on crypto opinion, where do you see that going as well?
Yeah, man. So I think ecom right now, it's heavy Shopify and heavy. Right now, we're actually seeing a lot of momentum in Facebook shops. It kind of piggybacks off of running ads and stuff like that. It's kind of in that same ecosystem, but you don't have to necessarily run ads to do shops. And it's kind of like selling on, at least my opinion right now, it's kind of like selling on Amazon like 5 years ago, because I had 3 Amazon stores, a Walmart store. 2 of the Amazon stores actually got shut down with suspensions, violations, policy stuff, and holding of funds and all
Classic.
Yeah, classic Amazon shit. And then Walmart got terminated after like $1,000 in sales. So I'm like, dude, I hate marketplace selling. Like I'm pretty much against it, like as much as you can get, just because of the capital exposure you have to make a little bit of money. Like if, for example, on Amazon, you could do 50 grand in revenue. They take 50%. You're left with 42.5. You may have to spend in inventory and COGS and all that kind of stuff, about 38 to 40 grand just in COGS to make 2 grand. It's like there's so many more business models out there to be able to make that spread, right? And so anyways, with Facebook shops, the traffic is naturally being served up. So like with Amazon now, you see people that are doing SEO and people that are doing rankings, they're doing that, and they have to do Amazon ads or drive traffic from like TikTok and stuff like that to get the volume going to the listing. TikTok's probably the anomaly to this whole e-commerce game that's come out, because organic is just insane. But that model of just SEO and then run ads to a certain listing, to me, just kind of crams down on a lot of the margins and just isn't as reliable. If Amazon was more reliable, maybe that would be a good solution. But I mean, they pay out every 2 to 6 weeks because there's a rolling total. So like Amazon, if you sell and then the item gets delivered, then they unlock the funds. So if you're in between cycles, it'll just push to the next cycle and the next cycle. So typically as you sell more on that platform, your payout gets delayed. With Facebook shops right now, it's actually the opposite. You actually get to go from every 2 weeks to daily payouts. Amazon used to have that like 3 to 5 years ago. It's called payability, and it's gone. It went away like 2.5 years ago. Facebook shops has that right now, and they only charge 5%, whereas Amazon charges 15% if you just do traditional drop shipping. So like the arbitrage.
Where do Facebook shops get served up? I'm not really on Facebook that much these days, so I feel like I haven't even really seen that.
Yeah, so there's Marketplace, which is kind of like Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, where people sell anything and everything, couch surfing, whatever, or couches and all that stuff.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And then shops, what they're doing right now, it connects to brands, which you guys already know. You guys can put that on the Instagram and Facebook. But they're serving shop, that mechanism, inside of the marketplace.
Oh,
and
gotcha. So when you search for things, or it's just being served up?
Just being served up.
Oh, nice.
So
based on
Nike's
your interests and all that kind of stuff?
Nike's being served up. All these other brands are being served up in the shop. And drop shippers are being served up.
And when I click the Nike ad, it's not actually going to Nike.com. It's going to a mini store inside of Facebook.
Of the platform.
Remember, it's not even an ad, is what he's saying.
Yeah,
it's not really an ad. It's just like a listing.
It's just a listing.
Exactly this.
Interesting.
And what's really happening?
But those are like used. Those are from, or not used, but that's like a seller's right there. Rob Menace.
Yeah, but look.
So sellers.
Shout out Rob.
It is. It's the same though. Then you add to cart.
But think about it with Amazon.
You're building a cart, and then at the end you check out with everything.
I see. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's on Marketplace, and it's just, wow. That's wild. Okay, I didn't realize how different Facebook Marketplace had gotten.
Like you can like filter to like shoes.
I just thought it was like Craigslist though. I didn't know that you could like make a store.
Used to be. So there's marketplace selling, and then there's shop selling, and shops are now being served up in that. And so, so the arbitrage play, at least for what we're doing now, we're really pushing more Facebook shops than Shopify at the moment, because there's a lot more fulfillment in Shopify. We actually closed our tranches pretty recently. We open them up from time to time, like taking groups of Shopify clients on. But Facebook shops is a lot more scalable because our team has already been doing that for quite a while. So that's where I currently see like the next 6 to 12 months of arbitrage is inside of Facebook shops, because a lot of the sellers are going to move from from Amazon and Walmart over to that. I've already been seeing it with like friend groups and all that kind of stuff. They're trying to figure this thing out. And this is where it kind of ties in the passion of e-commerce, pixel tracking, all that stuff. You can attach a pixel to that marketplace.
Purchase. Oh, wow.
To that marketplace seller listing or whatever. So now you just kind of have like mass market data. You don't have to spend any money on ads or anything, and you're still getting purchases. every single day, which is pretty nuts. And they don't have to leave the platform. And so you still get pixel data, which, arbitrarily, isn't as valuable as obviously phone number and email, but it's still something. Whereas Amazon.
Is Facebook doing that just to stay competitive so they can open up this and hopefully become an Amazon or Walmart type of situation?
Generate revenue
so think about it. Yeah, they got to generate revenue somewhere. Ads, they've had to throttle CPMs in order to make up for their losses and stuff there. But if we think of like a 5-year, 10-year horizon with their whole metaverse play, they have to build an inner commerce mechanism and platform to function inside of that.
Yeah, facts.
And if that's going to be, because what they've previewed is, Messenger popping up and showing, different videos and all that kind of stuff, and then social media news and all that kind of stuff, all being intertwined, the commerce mechanism has to be there. So I don't think this is just a 2-year play for them. Marketplace 2 years ago was first setting up foundation and getting some people on there. Now they're incorporating all these brands and all that stuff. And I think like 3 to 5 years from now, whenever this metaverse thing actually comes out from them, I think that will be the foundation of it. And so what they're, I think, doing now is training the user to monetize them. They're training them to shop within it and that they're a reliable source to do so. So that's personally what I think is happening. And they're obviously trying to compete with Shopify, Amazon, all that stuff. But I do think that there's an arbitrage play there, and we're taking advantage of it. I mean, one of our stores, like 5 months in, they netted like 10 grand net profit.
Wow.
Doing no ads or any of that kind of stuff.
On that month.
Not that over the 5 months, just by their 5th or 6th month, they had made 10 grand net profit that month. And it's like,
wild.
That used to happen with Amazon.
But no ads.
And this
You're not even spending any money on ads.
And what was really cool too is with Facebook right now, there's no restrictions. Except for like selling like live animals, you can't do that. Like
because it's like marketplace, it's like Craigslist kind of, so you can like sell all kinds of shit.
Yeah, except for like adult toys and like live animals. So yeah, unfortunately for your ledger,
I'm not gonna buy the platform.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna buy.
Live adult toys
or turtles or something. But
Facebook's down 54% this year.
Yeah. What was that?
Meta's down 54%.
Yeah, everything's down, man.
No, I know. It's just an interesting buy considering this purchase play on the back end.
Yeah, I think
could get interesting.
Yeah, I think that Shopify is definitely undervalued, especially with their audiences play. Definitely going after just third-party data. Yeah. That was actually that software that we were talking about that I wanted to do was exactly that. Shopify rolled it out like 6 months after we talked.
Crazy.
But they have the data too. So it's like, don't compete with them.
They're going to beat you anyways.
For sure. But I was like, how do they
like, would everyone like this?
They probably heard us talking, man. They're listening.
Dude, I put it down and like, wait, I just scraped this audio from this Robert J. Miller guy.
Yeah, man. Or this Eddie Maloof guy.
Take a look.
This full media kingpin. So I do think that there's some leeway there, and I think that's like a fruitful platform. I think it will get saturated for like that drop shipping model, maybe like 3 years from now, kind of like what Amazon did, like it just got saturated. I actually just did a video on it. Like the graph for Amazon is just straight up, and in 2021 it plateaued for third parties actually making more money.
Wow.
So it's like pretty nuts. You can attribute that maybe to COVID or anything like that, but 2021 was pretty stable after all that stuff happened. In regards to just the sales volume, it didn't really change, but it was just flatline for third-party sellers. So that was just kind of an interesting statistic I was looking at. So I think, again, Facebook's going to have some leeway. Shopify is always, I think, going to be like the superior e-commerce platform. Like it's already established that. It's connecting all these, different browsers and, different platforms and stuff. But I do think that the people that actually can house more and more data are just going to win. That's the easiest, thing, even in the agency space. Like the more data that you have and the infrastructure that you have with it, the better you'll be able to make decisions and capitalize on that. And then in the crypto space, I do think that once this shakes out, it's probably going to take about another 6 months, I think. I've been through 2 cycles already. One was back in 2017. It crashed, and then there was a whole winter period of, where's crypto going? It's dead, blah, 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 blah. And then it just rose like a phoenix, like, a couple of years later.
Rose like a phoenix.
There's
if you look
a
at the
website.
Bitcoin graph, it's just freaking straight up, dude. Like at these different parabolic times, like just go straight up. But you're talking about looking at Bitcoin?
Yeah, there's a website that compiles all the times when journalists have like declared Bitcoin as dead, and it's like literally like so many times that like very big, companies have been like Bitcoin is officially dead, blah 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 blah, and then that's when it ever.
Yeah, I mean they all need clickbait, right?
It's almost like the biggest buy signal of all time.
Yeah. I mean the biggest buy signal is the 2-year moving average. There's a site called lookingatbitcoin.com. If you just go to that.
Chart. Look into Bitcoin, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, into Bitcoin.com. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't say go look into Bitcoin.com.
Yeah.
That's the name of the
Literally
site.
look into Bitcoin.com.
And it's a 2-year moving average, and there's a green line that basically shows the 2-year moving average. Anytime it's dipped beneath that, it's been historically a good time to buy. And then there's a red line, I think it's a 5x of that 2-year moving average, has been historically a good time to sell, or it approaches the pressure where people get nervous and they start to sell. So, that's just a super simple way for people to look into when is a good time to buy, instead of just listening to the saying, when there's blood in the streets, even if it's your own blood, buy. Like, actually look at some of the data that can support that. And I do think, though, it's being suppressed, and there's a couple good theories that I actually heard, which we could talk about, but I think it's being suppressed by central banks and the Fed, primarily different price actions. About 9 months ago, I learned this from one of my friend's dad, who has he exited his company in 2021 for $36 billion. This guy was a massive real estate fund. Yeah. And his theory behind it was that the Fed recently popped JP Morgan Chase and their securities and commodities division for suppressing, basically putting in spoof orders to control either the price action going up or price action going down of a commodity. So let's say gold is approaching $2,000. They would put a bunch of sell orders on top of $2,000, and which would make the market go down, even though they actually didn't sell anything. And that would control the price action. They'd have the same thing at the support levels. They put a bunch of buy orders in to think that it was going to go up, even though they weren't going to fulfill those buy orders anyways. And JP Morgan was doing that.
So as soon as it would approach the thing, they would cancel it basically, or
other way. So if it was going down towards that target, and it was, let's say it was $1,500, they would put a bunch of buy limit orders in on the order book so people can see it. And then that would be oh, someone's going to buy this much. Let me go buy now. And that would change the trajectory, even though their buy order wouldn't go through. And then same thing on the sell side.
They were trying to predict the bottom.
Yeah.
No, not even predict it.
It's just a control.
Yeah.
It's just a cap. Interesting. Right.
Well, the people who were watching the chart were saying.
Think
bro, that's how all these markets work.
They were seeing all the buy orders, and they were trying to predict the bottom.
Exactly. That's what the stock market is too.
Yeah.
They see all the sell orders on a Friday, and then people make moves based on what contracts are expiring.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Exactly. And so when you think about it, everyone knows, or I would say most people know, that we went off the gold standard back in the 70s.
What?
And And this money has just been infinitely printed. So JP Morgan Chase, I believe it was JP Morgan Chase. It actually might be a different bank, but they if they're going to be able to control the commodity price of gold, and people know that gold was the hedge against currency devaluations and stuff, but they can control the price of it, then that takes people's eyes off of gold, and now they go look for different assets, right? And so so he was saying that it's the same idea with Bitcoin, that they can contain it because they can infinitely print and then put a sell order at some certain price point, a buy order at some certain price point, to keep it inside of its cage, if you will, which I think is pretty fascinating, because it does make sense. Bitcoin probably should have already hit 100 grand. The demand was there for it, right? A lot of other, even cryptocurrencies had that.
I think we're all pretty surprised to see the price that it's at right now.
Yeah, exactly. And then even with that, there's other people, like the guy that did the whole, the big short and all that kind of stuff. He's predicting there's so much leverage in crypto, if it's actually going to, be viable, it has to be shaken out to then be able to have a new foundation of support. And look what happened. Everything just freaking crashed and crumbled with all these different DeFi pools and stuff. So I think that between those two theories, have kind of come up with that makes sense. And I'm just going to follow the 2-year moving average, because historically it's been a good time to buy. It's a really big bet. But I do think that because a lot of these currencies are being devalued, China's on the rise, that whole study with, the changing world order with Ray Dalio, I think it's just a good hedge to have in your portfolio. Whether you go all in 100% like I have at points in time, or if it's 50% or
on crypto or on Bitcoin.
On crypto in general. Mainly Bitcoin and Ethereum have been about 40 to 70% of my allocation at some point in time.
You were forced to only buy one, you could only have ETH or Bitcoin. Which one would you take?
Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin's actually decentralized. ETH is still, they're trying to roll out this ETH 2.0 thing, and they still need a team to actually execute on that stuff. Bitcoin actually just runs already. So I think that it's a great product, Ethereum. I think it has the future, and all these other platforms are built on it. So I do think it's the main protocol. But if I'm just
that's
looking
my thing. It's so many tokens.
There would be a lot of other things that would have to crash and burn before Ethereum does.
I think though, if they don't fix their gas problem, which 2.0 is supposed to do.
Those gas fees.
Yeah, because if you
make it worse than bank fees, bro, which is kind of defeating the point of the whole thing.
The whole thing, and that's that's the whole point. Like you can move Bitcoin for a lot cheaper than you can Ethereum in a lot of cases. You can move Ripple for a lot cheaper. You can move a stable coin for a lot cheaper. So Ethereum doesn't necessarily need to be used per se, but it's kind of like the foundational assets, like the AWS of the freaking whole thing. So invest in the Amazon stock. What else is Ethereum going to roll out and do?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I probably bought a fuck ton of Ethereum yesterday.
Good.
You probably did.
I perhaps have. Let's just say I took all my other coins and I basically just moved them to ETH.
Yeah, that's smart. I mean, I've done that too. So like all my other speculative coins, like I moved it into those top two.
Yeah.
Because there's like unique buying times now. When Ethereum was under $1,000, like dude, I have not seen that in a long time.
Now's not the time to get fancy with it. Like you don't have to make like insane bets on anything. It's
Bro,
like,
I mean, just look at the top. Just look at the top. Bitcoin's top was like 60. What do you guys laugh at?
Right. No, it's true.
I was laughing because I remember that was the exact philosophy I had like way back freaking like 4 years ago when I had my first cycle, because a lot of the alts, literally regulation will come in and will kill half the projects because they're a Ponzi-nomic or they were a different platform, or even if they were miscategorized, they still get shut down. So it's like, just shift your wealth back into those assets. Top two, some stable coins.
And bro, we've seen ETH hit almost 6K. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, bro, if I can get a 4X, 5X from the point that I'm currently at in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
5 years. Like I should be more than happy with that as a person.
I think Ethereum will.
5X, bro. What the fuck? Our whole lives,
for sure,
we've been drooling over 7-9% returns a year.
For sure.
I know.
And you're telling me that like in 5 years, if this could go back to
4
or 5X,
yeah, 5X,
like, you
not
would
5%.
be sad. There's no way.
Oh no, there's
You
no
know
way.
what I
There's
mean?
no way.
There's no way. That's like, I just keep brainwashing myself and telling myself that. You know, I'm like.
Well, I think personally it'll hit like 20 grand a coin.
That's what I think too, bro.
Yeah.
But like, even if it just hits 5 and you bought a fuck ton at 1,
I
move on with your life, bro. Can you complain about? I mean, sure, it ain't no 166X like my boy Robert pulling in high school over here. You know what I mean?
Dude, that was crazy, man. I remember waking up looking at my Blockfolio. I just like refreshed, and I was like, dude, what the hell? Like. It was like $1,500 to like 260.
Holy fuck, bro! I would have gone.
That's
like,
a shift,
dude. I was like,
that's a quantum
shift.
leap. That's a quantum leap.
Were you in college, freshman or something?
Dude, yeah, I was a freshman in college.
Like, what the fuck?
You're a freshman
My
in
life is
college. You went
different.
from being normal income to have in your bank account $1,500.
I was not normal income. I was like no income, bro.
Yeah,
I was like
$1,500.
Uber Eats, Postmates. Like I was that guy for a bit because I was so deep into crypto and like I was doing part-time stuff and doing that. Like I was doing everything, dude, just to try and like scrape by, and then literally just refresh, and it was like insane money. And then now if you look at it, like,
did you pull out immediately? You're like, holy shit.
No, so it went down a little bit more than I had sold.
Okay, nice.
But dude, like think of it
Still,
now.
though,
if I just held that all in Bitcoin, and you could always play those what if games, but like that portfolio would have been like $7 million now.
Dude, it's hard to play those
like,
what if games sometimes because you can get sad.
Dude, so
you can get sad.
Let's just say I play this game a couple times a week in my head. I'm like, stop.
The craziest Bitcoin story that I know personally, because like everyone can make up a Bitcoin story, like, oh, were you really in it at that point? Like, like whatever, you know. Back in 2014, this is how I heard about Bitcoin. Back in 2015, my brother, this guy had told him to start buying Bitcoin, and probably then it was worth like anywhere between $100 to $400. Like,
oh, that much already?
You
sure it was that high?
There's a couple of times
2015,
yeah,
16, somewhere in there, like
$300, yeah,
somewhere, yeah.
I'm
And
also just guessing. I don't know shit. But.
Yeah, he's like, actually, if you look at the chart, Robert,
Eddie,
you're wrong. You're not.
283 was the top, Robert.
No. Eddie used to mine Ethereum way back in the day, and then got kind of burned by it and just like gave it up.
Bro, because at the fucking time, sorry to interrupt the story, but at the time, we built rigs, and I'm like, hell yeah, bro. I'm doing the math. Ethereum was nothing. It was worth like $20. Okay, and I'm doing the math, and I'm like, okay, like if we make 4 of these a day. We're killing it. It was like the hash rate.
For
or
Ethereum.
Yeah, for Ethereum.
Or right? Ether.
By the time I fucking built the rig, which wasn't that long, but just the time that I like purchased the graphics cards, figured out how to make sure it's cool. It was me and my friend, we were figuring it out together. We ended up having like 6 built like within like a month.
And you're paying for home electricity, which is like not like the cheapest electricity you could get.
But who fucking cares, bro? I was making, 4 ETH a day per thing. Like looking back, it was stupid. But my point was it went from 4 because so many people started mining out of nowhere. It went from 4 to like 0.4 a day, like this. And I was like, the fuck is this, bro? In like a month, it's going to do this again. And like, we're going to put all this money into the shit and I'm going to print $1 every day from these 40 machines. I don't care. I didn't think like we thought the upside of ETH. Okay, what if it goes from 20?
You were only thinking of the profitability of that day, not the potential of what your ETH could be worth in the future.
Not even that. I just at the time I didn't truly understand that ETH could be $10,000. Do you get my point? I thought like the top was like 50, 60, 80.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, it's this digital currency. It's cool. Whatever. Had I known that, I would have fucking sold everything my family had without telling them and just buying these rigs.
Yeah, they're like, Edgy, this digital entrepreneur. He does internet things.
Yeah.
Internet money.
He makes RuneScape coins or something. You know what I mean? And then 6 years later, just multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
What's your macro on Bitcoin? Because obviously, like Eddie asked the question, what would you rather have, ETH or Bitcoin? And you're very knowledgeable on this stuff. You've been in the space for quite some time. You've gone down super deep rabbit holes on this stuff. Like, what is like ultimately your kind of macro belief? Like, I would assume your macro is probably in Bitcoin overall.
Yeah.
What makes it so strong for people
he didn't finish his story though.
Yeah. Sorry.
We'll do both. So
for people that are like still not wrapping their heads around it, like why do you have that like conviction?
Well, if you look at different markets, another good buddy of mine, Jeff, he goes into this stuff pretty deeply too. He has a lot of cool videos on YouTube, but
Jeff Seckinger?
Yeah, Jeff Seckinger. But if you just look at how money moves into different markets during different times, people go into cash positions when things are crashing. Warren Buffett's been sitting on all this cash for a long time because of all the uncertainty, right? These massive funds, they have to deploy capital in order to provide yield for their investors. And so you can either play the stock game, which is finding companies, keeping up with indexes, or doing options trading, right? You can stay in inflation hedges like real estate, or you can stay in other commodities like gold, silver, but those have been kind of underperforming compared to other markets and assets. And if you look at all of the money that's in those assets and then you look at what's in Bitcoin, like that has the most upside compared to the rest because it's just the smallest market out of all of them. And if even like 5% of the entire global money pool that goes in from stocks, goes in from all these massive funds, goes into crypto, it's already a $10 trillion market. And most of these funds and most of these companies or, sovereign wealth funds, they want something that's going to have the highest liquidity because they want to be able to get out if something were to happen. 2, they're going to want something that can actually move and everyone will accept, not run by a certain company, not run by, any of that kind of stuff. And that is more than likely just going to be adoptable and just transparent. If you look at CBDCs of China versus CBDCs of US, there's already conflict there, even though it's the same thing. It's the same $1 equivalent of something, right? Their $1 versus this $1. The whole point of Bitcoin is to have a currency that's global that everyone can adopt to, right? And so instead of having a currency war of lack of trust, of devaluations, of assets in those markets, if you just have one in the middle and the whole world kind of goes towards that, even has exposure to it, it's a pretty good hedge. So I personally think Bitcoin will hit within the next cycle, and cycles are typically 4 to 5 years. It just depends because there's more and more money comes in. It tends to extend the cycles. It's not as volatile as more money comes in. It's still a really volatile asset, but I think it'll probably hit about 140 to 180 a coin within the next bull run with this thing, if not even more. Just depends on how much money continues to get printed. And I think that's the biggest anomaly with what happened with this past year. Is just so much money was printed. I think there's going to be so much more that is printed over the next coming years, but it happened so fast that literally people were buying crypto to then take a loan against it, kind of what we were talking about earlier, to then buy real estate, taking a loan against that to buy stocks. And so all that leverage gets to get shaken out. And then I think you'll start to see that $100,000 and $160,000 price point in crypto. So crazy
Casual
story.
7-8x.
Crazy story about that crypto, right? About Bitcoin. The one guy that I know, or that I knew, I don't even know where this guy is anymore. Maybe he's not even alive. I don't even know. He had, at the time when I first got into crypto, and it was about like $300 to $500, 1,500 Bitcoins. Okay. Cold storage, had him. He said, hey, you got to get in. I was like, okay. I'm like 16, 17. Like, I don't even know what this really is, but I'm going to figure it out. Comes back like 3 or 4 months later. He has 15,000 Bitcoins. I was like, dude, what are you doing? So he was accepting it as payment, right? He was just accepting a bunch of Bitcoins. And then last I heard from him or saw, some of the numbers, he had 150,000 Bitcoins.
What?
Yes. I don't know if that was a pool of a bunch of other people's Bitcoin, like they're just giving it to him to manage it or whatever. but he had a ton of Bitcoin, dude. And after that whole 2017, 2018 run, gone. Don't know where this dude is. Off the freaking face of the earth. So I don't know if he sold
what do you
it all,
speculate?
dude, he probably sold like
How much is that?
80% of it do it at like 17 grand.
At that price?
Do it at like 15 grand just in case he didn't hit 19 or whatever the case is.
$2.3 billion.
Yeah, dude. If he had it all. He probably sold it as it went up, but I think he's
You sell it
definitely
all,
half
and then what do you do?
dude, I think he just like moved to Costa Rica or something. Like, you know, like you get out as soon as you do like those big numbers.
He pulled out of the matrix 100%. He's like, I'm piecing out. I'm moving to Mykonos, and I'm going to own a flip phone and a little dog.
But I'll do whatever the fuck I want whenever
Exactly.
the fuck I want.
So that guy, dude, that guy was so
Fucking
brilliant,
Chihuahua.
man. Yeah, the Chihuahua. I could probably see him with the Chihuahua, not gonna lie. Like
a little Shih Tzu.
A little Shih Tzu or something tough, like a little mini min pin or something, you know. But he had a ton of Bitcoin, whether he still has it or not, regardless. That guy was just so smart and deep into dark web stuff, man. Like that's when I learned about Strawman accounts, and that's when I learned about so much like back end government finance stuff. And dude, that's kind of what put me on into this whole finance world, as well as just crypto and all that. So indirectly through my brother was able to know that guy.
That's pretty wild.
Crazy.
So at 160 grand a coin,
Guy, if you're listening.
Yeah. If you're still out there, man, if they didn't axe you yet,
He's probably got
Hats
like
off
a
to
few
you.
coins left. He's got it kept around.
he's got
few.
one coin left only.
The thing is once you get out and you move it into fiat, then like, what do you do? Where do you put it then? Because
That's
you're
the
still
thing.
stuck in that same thing. It's like you might as well. I mean, shoot.
Well, dude, once
You
you
could
get to
diversify a bit, but
once you get to that level, you have a target on you, bro. It's not
So
like
true.
it's not like you can just go cash out from Coinbase like, oh, thanks for the like whatever $2 billion.
thanks for the $2.2 billion.
Dude, like if you have to wash it a couple different ways. I don't know how to do all that stuff, but like you can sell it black market, you could sell it off for cash, like a lot of different ways that you'd have to do it at that point, just because you'd be high profile, high risk, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, even just look at Vitalik, dude. Like people airdrop him a bunch of shit, and it helps, you know, promote different coins, and like so staying low key and off the grid with that kind of stuff is like.
Oh, like because his address is doxed, his ETH address.
He's not doxed or anything. But Vitalik's is, yeah.
His public ETH address is doxed, so people send him coins just so that.
Yeah, he's like, oh, Vitalik bought some of these NFTs or some of these coins. Same thing with Gary V. Like they would blow up a spot all the time.
That makes so much sense because they'll know it's his wallet because it's got a bajillion ETH in it.
Yeah,
He's like the only wallet that has that much probably. Is he
Yeah.
the number one holder?
I don't know, man. I know that the most cryptocurrency projects like Ethereum, Ripple, there's an allocation that goes specifically to the founders, and they're all different. He can be in and out of Ethereum at different points, but dude, Vitalik's already made a shit ton of money. Like, what is he gonna do now? Like, he's just gonna continue to roll out this product.
You
of
can
ETH
only
2.0.
do good in the world at that point, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, let's
either
see what
choose,
Sam
do I
does.
selfishly disappear or do I like pull it back into the world like Elon Musk,
think-
for example?
Yeah, I think Vitalik is at the end of the day he seems like a good dude. Like he seems like he wants positivity. Like he's obviously a
everything he's
very weird guy.
Said
But
or preached.
yeah, I mean he's obviously a very strange man. But
Is he a
overall-
man or is he an alien?
He might be an alien, man. It might be like Elon's long lost cousin or something.
Holy fuck, what a note.
I saw these NFTs. I forget what they were called, but it was literally like Vitalik as an alien, and it was this sick like 3D animation thing. I'm like, this is actually a dope ass NFT.
It's your sister.
It was like Vitalik with a giant brain
Yeah.
and like alien eyes. It was actually so funny.
Makes sense, man. I mean, that dude is super smart, and like he had central banks like calling him up, wanting to meet up. Like, just think about the profile of that. And the central bank, the Fed, is actually controlled by other banks. There's a whole hierarchy. Like, we always blame the Fed for doing whatever. There's actually like a whole org chart above the Fed.
Yeah.
So like to be called up into those board meetings,
The Fed's
As
just
a
a small
person.
account manager, you know?
dude, seriously, it is. See, they're just a CSM, man. The United States is CSM.
That's it, bro.
And
Like, listen, you're gonna just take shit and just tell us, you know, what happens, and we'll do whatever.
like, who do you think Jerome Powell reports to, man?
Yeah.
Dude, there's higher ups up there
That's
that
some wild shit.
are way bigger. So just to be called by those guys, like, yo, come down to the office, come down to the podcast room, let's have a chat.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's some baller shit. It's a high level.
Yeah.
Speaking of some baller shit, we wrap up these. Sorry, I'm wrapping up early, boys, but
Dude, it's okay.
Things gotta be on time in life.
Yeah, he's got to game it a little bit here. So he has to go ball it up.
I got a stretch. Coach is like about to put me in soon, and games tip offs in 10 minutes. No, but we end these with a fortune cookie. So basically, we asked our guest if you had to like give your younger self like 5 years ago a fortune cookie, and be like, here's some life advice that I would like to have learned 5 years ago that could really have like changed how I think about things, how I approach things, just how life could have gone. And you can take some time to think about it. We've had long fortunes, we've had short fortunes, so there's no time constraint. This fortune
Your
cookie,
paper is pretty long.
it's like one of those,
It's like a seed phrase.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So buy Bitcoin is one. Just continue to buy that, or ETH and all that stuff now. But it's actually funny. I went to an event not too long ago. It was about investment funds and all that stuff. It was a really good event by Bridger. And they actually did this thing where you would meditate on, like yourself, you'd go through this breathing exercise, and you would go back to your younger self and actually just have a conversation. And the guy that, I forget his name, he's he speaks on stages all the time. He's the guy with no legs, no arm, has like one finger.
Nick Santonasasso.
Yeah, Nick Santonasasso.
This is why he's on this
Nick
podcast.
Something, right? Yeah, thanks for the reference. So he walked through that meditation, and what was something that I told myself for back then is like, because of the position that I was in growing up, like my mom was only making like 30 grand a year, suburb of LA, like it was rough. Like it was, we'd be hungry and all that stuff. Like a lot of times I didn't have a lot of faith in just like what the next move was, or like what was even going to happen next. And so I was just telling myself like, dude, have faith, you should continue to push down, because like what you're doing, the intent that you have behind what you're doing is there. Like you're not just trying to screw people over, like just continue to push down this whole rabbit hole of having great morals and pursuing whatever the education is. And it'll all work out for you. And I think the other thing I would give on the fortune cookie is like, just make sure whoever you're with is just the right person with you, like the intentions of that person. I would learn a little bit more emotional intelligence prior to getting into business. That's probably a piece of advice I'd give myself, because I was always so willing to give, or so willing to just accept whatever the face value of the conversation was, because I was super analytical. I was like, oh, you want to go do XYZ? Let's go do XYZ. Boom. And that would be the business plan, or that would be whatever. But there's deeper intentions that people have, and I was pretty naive to that. So I would look into that first and develop a little bit more emotional intelligence before going into engagements.
What was the first one?
Buy Bitcoin and Ethereum.
No, there's the second one.
Second one was the conversation about having faith and actually pushing through, like continue to go down the path that you're going down.
Morally.
Like, have hope. Like continue to push, like that. Is that other side. Like the courses,
you're like
the
plan that, like, what you need to do, just stick to it, keep going, don't like abandon it just because it's getting hard, kind of thing.
Yeah, like have faith that it's going to work out.
Yeah,
like don't
stick to the plan.
Don't be so hard on yourself that it's not going to work out. Like don't have so much fear that it ain't going to work. And I remember like I would have a lot of fear just because I had seen kind of like what rock bottom kind of looked like in a lot of places in my life. Like I can only go up from here. I didn't have a positive outlook on that. It was more just like follow this course verbatim, and if I didn't get the result, then do another course verbatim, do another course until something clicks. So like I didn't have like the optimism about it. It was just like, here's the formula, follow those steps and do it. So I would say have a bit more faith and like charisma in it, and not just be so black and white with it. And just have more faith in it, and then learning more emotional intelligence around just understanding people's intentions. And like dude, in the agency space, marketing space, there are a lot of people that stab you in the back just for a quick buck or whatever the case is, can get black hat really quick. And dude, I just commend both of you guys, and even just being able to meet you and be good friends with you guys, like the whole ecosystem and the community that we've kind of been in. There's a lot of shady characters, but you guys have been true, and I really appreciate our friendship and just the time that we get to spend together, man.
Appreciate that, bro. I say the same things about you, bro.
Yeah, of course.
I'll only good talk about you behind your back.
Yeah,
seriously, man.
That does mean a lot. If for people that are listening that are like, okay, develop emotional intelligence, what would you kind of, actually say to do that? Like what, just try to be more open, or like, like going back, how would you kind of teach yourself emotional intelligence? Because I feel like it's kind of a hard thing to do without like just experiencing it.
Dude, it's experience, man. Like my default answer, like when you asked that, was like, go read a book. Dude, you can't learn everything in a book, like emotions and humans. Like you can learn psychology, but you have to then go apply that and figure out how it works. So fortunately, through the whole process, the guy we were talking about earlier, we don't really speak anymore, but we were actually able to, he was very extroverted. So he got energy from like talking to people. I was very introverted. And so I kind of get to soften myself up a little bit and be a little bit more in the middle to be able to talk about emotions, feelings, and not feel just so analytical and closed off about things. So I do think that like if you're more of an analytical person, try and either become friends with or figure out some way to have someone that's a little bit more extroverted that could even be in your relationship, like figure out a way that can actually pull you from that extreme into the middle, or vice versa. If you're the extroverted person, you're probably, really good with emotional intelligence, but if you could do that for someone and help someone and become friends with them and move them into that ecosystem, it actually would make the world a better place and not allow people to feel lonely or, closed off and stuff.
My answer would be find a high-level sales or customer service job. So if I wanted to build EQ, I would work in a very high impact sales environment for like 6 months, because it would really help me understand a lot of different personality types and how to manage them. And then to another 6 months, let's say on the other side, like head of client success, for example, or something like that, because again, it would allow me to talk to high profile individuals and understand what their different personality types meant. If I couldn't do either of those, I would just date 40 women at the same time.
Yeah, you'll learn a lot about psychology there. But that's really good advice. And in fact, that's actually how I got started in e-commerce, man. And to, I guess, wrap it up, that's another full circle moment I had. The Beard Club, Dollar Beard Club, was I actually was a customer service rep for them back in 2015 when they were doing all their crazy promotion, their first promotions with Dan Fleshman and all that stuff, Dan Bilzerian. I was a customer service rep. And in that customer service rep job, I had learned some of that stuff of emotional intelligence, but that's how I learned Facebook ads. That was the first thing that I did. So whenever, people come to me and ask like, how can I get into the agency space or marketing, like go work for someone first to learn the ropes. So same deal, learn emotional intelligence by being in the environments where that happens. And then to close that off in a mastermind that we are both a part of, met the founder of the Beard Club. So went from CS rep to being in the same mastermind. So
Alex
awesome.
Brown.
Yep.
Dope guy. I love him, man.
Dude,
shout out
phenomenal.
to Alex Brown.
Yeah, shout out to Alex Brown.
Super cool dude. Well, Robert, pleasure having you. You came all the way here from Texas. Well, you came from Miami, but you live in Texas. Yeah. So I appreciate you coming out to Atlanta, coming to the office, gracing us with your presence on this beautiful podcast, and hopefully we can do it again sometime in the future.
Where can people find you if they want to watch your stuff or whatever? Follow you?
Absolutely. So it's at the Robert J. Miller on Instagram. That's probably the primary spot that I go post.
You'll find some with underscores. You'll find some with other names and misspellings.
I'm guessing you'll never message anyone asking for crypto.
Yeah, I won't do that. Won't ask for money, anything like that. But the Robert J. Miller across, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. That's where you'll find me. I'm pretty congruent there. We'll never ask you for money either.
It's the only one that I follow.
Yeah.
Good.
If that helps.
It's the one and only Robert
just
J.
for
Miller.
people to reference.
So
Sometimes
if they're like, Eddie Malouf does not follow this one, so must be the fake
Bro,
one.
you don't know how many times fake profiles get like
decent amount of followers from
like,
mutuals. Yeah.
But logical followers too.
Yeah. Like your friends.
I'll go look at a fake profile of myself and I'll look and I'll be like, dude, there's like 10 blue checks following this account. Are these people stupid?
Yeah.
You know how much credibility this gives this account, bro?
Yeah, it's stupid. It's stupid. Anyways, Robert,
pleasure having you, Robert.
Thanks for having you, man.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for having you. That's what
Thanks for having.
Thanks for having. Yeah.
Thanks for having.
We're gonna cut that one out at the end.
Thanks for having. Thanks for
Andrew said,
having.
Thanks for having you.
Thanks for starting the having of Bitcoin.
Oh man. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the 4Media Uncut podcast. If you want to work with us, learn with us, or even join the team and be a part of what we're doing at 4Media Marketing, just go to our website. It's 4media.marketing. No .com, no .net, .marketing, because that's all we do around here. And most importantly, share this with a friend wherever you're listening to or watching this on. Please hit that share button, send it over to a friend, someone else that you think will get value out of this. It would mean the world to us.
And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like this video and comment down below any suggestions for future guests. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please rate this 5 stars and leave us a review there. That helps us tremendously in the algorithm world. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of 4Media Uncut Podcast.